And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 16th of November 2025, Sunday, and with that laggy camera somehow, I don't know why the camera is laggy, but I hope the audio is cool. Yeah, it seems like audio is cool and camera also seems to be cool now. Okay, let's start Boot.Dev. Yes, Boot.Dev. Let's go. Yes, literally, let's go, not just figuratively. Defer. Shit, that is our new XP. Or we are at 35. We have to reach. Wait, backend developer path. Go chapter 3 functions. Okay. Yes. Here you differ. Differ. Something is differ. Okay. And what we have gone through is anonymous functions and everything. Anonymous functions, by the way, are pretty cool. Let's write some lang go. I mean, cd go ls and h hi dot go. Okay, and we are not getting any error. Okay, end of file expected something. Package go, that is how we do it. And then func main. This is our main function. And shit, we have to initialize a package to do anything. So let's say main dot go package main and func. mm, We have a CPP file, that is the error. We also have a Rust file. Okay, and then main.go, and the error is not gone. C++ source file not allowed. Main redeclared in this block. We do not have a C++ file, but hello.go. There you also have the main function. Okay, okay. Main.go. Yeah, that's cool. And we will write a function that takes in another function and returns hello. Good morning. Sorry, good afternoon. No, that is like fine. The good is the more important part, I guess, other than the time. Okay, we will write a function that takes in another function and two numbers. Let's higher order function is the name. And this takes in inner function, and that this function is a function that takes in integer and returns an integer and also takes in integer and integer. Missing. Okay, and okay, this thing will return an integer. Missing parameter type. That makes sense. Shit. Yes, this is not uh, C++. Okay, comma B. Both are integer, returns integer. X, comma 1. Right. And let's say where, yeah, where answer integer equals, we will call inner function on x and y declared and not used, return as. Okay, yep, higher order function, that is what we will be using. And okay, higher order function, then we will call the higher order function and we will print its value, or let's say where or response walrus operator equals higher order function. And yes, this is like this is not something that we will use in while we are actually writing some production code, but this is for learning purposes. So first argument has to be a function. We can either define a function, let's say add This takes in two numbers a and b, both are of type integer and returns an integer. And the definition is return a plus b. That is it. So here we can provide add and 1 and 3 and then print ln rest. That does work somehow. Let's see. Go build main.go. Oh, that does work. Dot slash main and vc4. Yes, vc4. Cool. So instead of providing this function externally like this, we can write this function in place or anonymous function. And the definition is like this. Func takes in two numbers, a comma b, both are integers, returns an integer, and the definition is return a plus b. So this also works, and we can remove this. Go build dot slash main dot go dot slash main dot slash main and 4. So yes, those are anonymous functions. There is your new configuration consists of LSP. LSPs are externally added, but there is a plugin which there's a plugin which handles the LSP thing. There is a plugin. Can you show new config? Yes, there is a plugin which sees which file I have opened. If I have opened a C++ file, then the plugin starts the LSP for C++, which is clan D, and yeah, stuff like that. So it's like github.com slash my name and then rc there. The whole config is there, and yes, to also show it here, there is this plugin nvim config, nvim lsp config. There is this config just handles these LSPs, but I've downloaded these LSPs manually. That is the part. I'm not using Mason for the LSPs. So yeah, these are the LSPs I'm using. And I have written some configuration for TypeScript LSP and for Lua LSP. I have given some options for these two. And for TypeScript, I have given a configuration, and because TypeScript server runs on Node, but I have one, I do not use Node. So I have told the LSP to call itself by running one instead of running Node. So that is the configuration part. And here I am telling the this plugin that whenever I enter a Python file or a Lua file or Rust or C++ or Go file, just run the LSP. So that is also nice. Hmm, Shit. Promotion. Now, differ. Let's see. I would like to differ. Differ. Differ keyword is a fairly unique feature of Go. Okay. It allows a function to be executed automatically just before it's. Wait, can we? Shit. Here we declared like anonymous function. So can we say fn equals func takes in two arguments, int a returns an integer and return a into b, and then instead of passing this we can pass fn. Shit, that also works. And also let's say, can we call this function like right here? uh let's say 1 comma 2 declared but not used. Shit, print ln fn. Shit, that is cool. Here, fn is the return value of this function, of this anonymous function, when this anonymous function is called with these two numbers, 1 and 2, as their parameter. So that is cool. That is like actually cool. Answer should be 18, 9 into 2. Go build slash main 18. Let's go. That is actually cool. Spring Boot, go back and shit Spring Boot for Java, I suppose. And you use external keyboard. Yes, I use external keyboard. Like, yeah, I use external keyboard because I can like put the laptop at the top of some books. The laptop is at eye level and the keyboard is down below. So that is cool. It allows the function to be executed automatically just before its enclosing function returns. Shit, this is not, so this is like destructor for functions. The dereferred calls arguments are evaluated immediately, but the function call is not executed until the surrounding function returns. Okay. Dereferred functions are typically used to clean up resources that are no longer being used, often to close database connections, file handlers, and the like. Okay, okay, okay. So this is like, mm, yes, this is like destructors in C++. Get username, that is a function, takes in a destination name, source name, and returns a username and error. Open a database connection at this source db.open, then close the connection anywhere, get the username function returns, defer. Shit, when this function ends, call this function. Okay, that makes sense. That does actually make sense. And then username, so that if we get a error here and or maybe some early return from here, defer statement is automatically executed, and here also. That is cool. In the verb example, connection.close function is not called here. It will be called when we get to the return or the end of the function. It is called here and or not and here, depending on whether the fetch user function errored. We will cover errors later. Okay. Defer is a great way to make sure that something happens before a function exits, even if there are multiple return statements. So that is cool. That is like actually pretty cool. Hello. Hi. Shared. Alone. Late Code Weekly. Oh. Next time I will make a project. I will do it in a virtual environment. Thanks for asking. The virtual environment in Python. I also had to use a virtual environment for downloading a library like fetch or whatever the name was of the library, because we cannot download Python packages in Mac at a global scale. That is kind of bad if we have home too. So yeah, there is some compatibility problem. Environments are cool, but I could never understand what was like why we use Anaconda and stuff like that. Complete the booter function and complete the booter function. Be sure to print the following string just before booter function returns. Text your boot up done. Okay, and then defer so that booter function and defer func does not take in anything, but there is a definition which is fmt dot println this thing, and that should be cool. That should be cool. Shit. Okay, yes, okay. There is also a written call before that, right here. And yeah, compilation error expression in must be a function call, not the function name, but a function call. Okay, cool. Connection failed, connection failed. That is good. Confettis. Yo, let's go. Use differ so that you only have to write this message once instead of each written. Differ is cool. Differ is cool. Differ is cool. Differ is cool. We can give a function call and we can say run this function. There is also a similar function in C++ at exit, I think. Yes, CVP at exit. Shit. Registers the function pointed to blah, blah, blah. This takes in a pointer to a function, no except void, and returns something that we don't want. And if we go to lead code, okay, handle one, handle two, we have two functions, and std at exit result one or two. And so this is also kind of similar in some way. This also does something. I was watching Chire code, yo, virtual environment, Python, V and V. Pissed yesterday because of slight mistakes and problem two. Day before yesterday, the education rounds are always like that. Education rounds are crazy. Block scope. Unlike Python, Go is not function scoped. Unlike Python, Go is not function scoped. It is block scoped. Okay, so Python is function scoped. That is something. And variables declared inside a block are only accessible within that block. And it is nested blocks like C and C++, also like Rust. And there is also the package scope. We'll talk about package later, but for now, you can think of it as the outermost, nearly global scope. Jon Snow, winter is coming. Age 19, scope the entire main function, basically global. Okay, so this is global, and this is inside the email scope, and email is inside just this scope, for loop scope. Blocks are defined by curly braces, function loops, if statement, switches, else statement, explicit blocks. Can we have declared and not used? Wait, that is not a warning. That is a error. So this will not compile. Shit, that does not compile. Shit, that is very strict. That is actually very strict. Open plus equals A. Go build dot slash main rf main dot s. Cool. So that is very strict. It is a bit unusual, but occasionally increase the. That is good enough. It is a bit unusual, but occasionally you will see a plain old explicit block. It explains it exists for no other reason than to create a new scope like this. Yeah, what we did just now. Assignment, run the code without changing anything. You should see a compilation error. What is the error? We define this and this, but we are not using these. So just remove these, I guess. for this in range email and email and domain. I is the index, R is the thing itself. Here, email is just at the rate, then username. R. Okay, shit. In email, we are finding at the rate, at the rate. And when we do find at the rate, the left part of that whole thing is the username and the right part is the domain. And then we break and then we return. That should run, at least fix the scoping issue in the function so that it runs as you would expect. And it does run as we expect, so that is pretty cool. Was I using, is it free by the way? Yes, it is free. My bad. I should write this. This one, this is a pretty cool website. Boot.Dev by Lane Wagner. This guy, Lane, shit, he has a kid. He's a father. Yes, Lane Wagner. He's a pretty nice dude. And okay, next. Processing orders management thinks our branding is so creative that our SaaS customers will pay for Textio merch. Okay, let's have a merch. That is a lot of if else statements. We can use switch. Complete the place order function. This one takes in product ID, quantity, account balance, product ID. So we can this function price list. This takes in product ID and this, okay, do not touch code below this. So inside this, we can call the price list function, give it the product ID and calculate the price by calling this function, multiplying the answer by the quantity and checking the balance, and we will return bool and float the remaining balance, I suppose. It returns a bool indicating whether the order was successful, true, or and a float 64 representing the user's balance after the order. Place order function should always return the account balance regardless of it was adjusted or not. Okay, let's not read the rest of it and just work with this. Price equals price list with product ID into quantity. Okay, and if account balance is greater than equal to price, then return true, comma, account balance minus price, else, and yes, else, else comes at the same place. For account balance and we run shit. Quantity is an integer. Okay. 64 into quantity. That should work. Should have worked. Should work. And does one test fail? Expecting this actual, we said, oh, it's not very good. Inputs were this is this and 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. We should have gotten 3, 3 into 7 string. Yes, 3 into 7 would be 21. 21 is smaller than this. Amount in stock. The amount in stock and calc price. calc. Okay, we are not calling any of these other functions. That is not very good. Okay, calc price takes in a quantity. Okay, okay, we do call the calc price function, or we can just do this on our own. And the amount in stock functions. Okay, shit. Okay, so if this thing and 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 stock, what does this take in? Amount in stock takes in product ID. Product ID, is this smaller than or equal to quantity, then this, otherwise this. Okay, run, fail. Two test fail this time. We said false for product ID 1. We have 11 things. Why did we say false? Shit, because yes, of course, shit. Greater than equal to. Okay. That is absolutely correct. So cool. It has started course, not much advanced. Yeah, yes. And if you go and take the Git course on this website, that is very good. That is like actually very good. Course for Git. Linux, I have taken the Linux course, I guess. Don't know. But yeah, this Git course is very, very good. So like literally very good. This is by Mr. Prime, and he also has shit Hunter Biden. We have Hunter, and so Primogen has a few courses on this. He has this Git course, and I think also he has HTTP in TypeScript. He has a HTTP course. Okay, this is not by him. HTTP servers in this. Uh, yeah, he has a HTTP course. Yes, this one. HTTP protocol in Go by Primogen. Stuff. That is like very cool. And this Git course has also has a second part to it where he is talking about more advanced Git stuff like plumbing and stuff like that. And it is cool. Closure. A closure is a function that references variables from its own function from outside its own function body. The function may access and assign to its referenced variables. In this example, the concat concater function, Harry Potter aggregator, returns a function that has a reference to an enclosed doc value. Each successive call to Harry Potter aggregator mutates that same doc variable. So this function does not take in anything, but it returns a function that takes in a string and returns a string. And now this is the function variable. We have this and return function which takes in a string, returns a string, and what do? We return doc. This function, internal function, returns doc by adding the word which was provided in the function argument. That is nice. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4, private. Okay, what do we have to do? Adder it returns a function. Keep track of how many texts we send in a mission critical as to your complete adder function and closing function. This will have something called sum equals 0 and return a function that takes in a number x returns an integer and return, or first will update sum plus equals 1 and return sum. That should work. Let's see. Okay, Go has very fast compile time, not gonna lie. Code execution cancel, signal kill, test, CO, main, WSM, WebAssembly. So this code is being executed on my side. C++ to WebAssembly, compiling a new C++ module. EM++ is a thing we can use for compiling a given stuff into WebAssembly. That is good. Go to WebAssembly and WASM, JS. Okay, will this work? That does work. We do have a we do not have we do have a WebAssembly file. How do we open this file? And what else do we have? Main.wsm, main.go, output main.wsm. Okay, so we have a WebAssembly file right here. So if we do and click serve here and then localhost 3000 and main.wsm WebAssembly. Okay, it is going to download the WebAssembly. How do we run a WebAssembly file? WebAssembly, uh, file, like how do I run, like I don't even know what WebAssembly does or what how it is. I've seen Python Git and JS courses, but it gets locked after some problems and deleted. Yes, the thing is, it will get locked, but you can read the material. You can just not submit solutions, but you have full access to the material. So that is cool. And in this thing also, after chapter 3 to chapter 4, we will be in guest mode. We won't be able to submit, but we have access to all the material here. Most common. Shit, we have to fetch it like this using JavaScript. HTTP server example fetch await your WebAssembly and then await WebAssembly instantiate bytes. Bytes is fs.arraybuffer. Arraybuffer is stuff instance console.log instance. That is good. That is good. Okay. Yeah, good. Back to this function 3 and we are here. Closures. Yes, closures. This should run. So this was giving us error. WebAssembly error. Okay, what do we have to do? Assignment, create a sum variable inside adder, return a function from adder, function that adds its input integer to the sum. That does make sense. So sum, not 1 plus, but add x to it. And cool. Not cool, undefined x. Int comes after the name of the variable. Ah, cool. failed 0. Now submit, and we should be happy. We are happy. Okay, confettis and experience. Currying. Shit. Okay. Function currying. Function currying is a concept from functional programming and involves partial application of functions. It allows a function with multiple arguments to be transformed into a sequence of functions, each taking a single argument. I have seen this before. Shit. Mm, yes. Okay, close the server. So, if we have function 1 and we are calling it a.b.c dot d, instead of this, we can have function 1, or let's not write the whole function then, f1. We can write this as f1 takes in, I think, a comma f2 b, which takes in f3 c comma f4 d, something like this, something like this. Function currying. I have seen this before somewhere. It allows a function with multiple arguments to be transformed into a sequence of functions, each taking a single argument. Each taking a single argument is not the thing here. Okay, let's simulate this behavior. For example, we have the main function where here we have self math multiply, self math add, square function 5 prints 25 and prints 5 double, then function multiply and add self math returns a function called math, takes in a function called math function, and returns a function that takes in an integer and returns an integer, and this returns a function which returns the output of these two functions. Shit. So this self math function takes in a function and returns a function, and the function that it returns, that function internally returns the output of a function which was provided as one of the arguments in the original self math function. Yes, that is very intuitive, I would say. In the example above, the self math function takes in a function as its parameter and returns a function that itself returns the value of that input function which was given to self math function as its argument. Okay. The TextView API needs a very robust error logging system, so we can see when things are going awry in the backend system. We need a function that can create a custom logger, a function that prints to the console given a specific formatter. The text function needs a very robust error logging system, so we can see when things are going awry in the backend system. We need a function that can create a custom logger function that prints to the console given a specific formatter. Complete the get logger function. It should take in as a argument formatter function and return a new function. The new logger function takes as input two strings and passes them to the formatter, then prints the result keeping the order of strings. Don't touch code below this line. Okay, that is nice. Return. This returns a function func which takes in two strings a comma b, both are string and both are strings, And yes, function body empty print line will call the formatter function on a comma b, print the result, and we will not return anything. That is good. Logs. That seems to be good, I guess. Yo, cutting. Yeah, in function definition takes shit. Okay. Okay, that is gained. Let's do this. Let's do this. So let's have a what even is one? Mm, Here we can have a function which like func adder takes in a comma b comma c comma d integer and returns an integer and returns a plus b plus c plus d. This is a like normal call, or we can have func curry adder, and this thing takes in an integer and returns a function which returns a function which returns a function. Okay, let's just go two level deep. That would be nice. So what we are looking for is like something like this. Cur adder a b c. Let's make this thing possible. So cur adder will return a function, yes, and that function will take in an integer. Makes sense. And what will that return? That will return a function, and that function takes in another integer c and returns an integer. Okay, so return a function that takes in an integer and gives out a function that takes in an integer and returns an integer. Yes, and the function definition of this b function would be, and this is called a. Yes, a comes like before here. So return a function that takes an integer. Okay, and here let's call this b, and this is a function that takes in c, which is an integer, and returns an integer, and this will return a plus b plus c. Yes, that is very less complicated, I guess. It's like macros or Linux. In JS, we don't provide all arguments in first definition. Uh, like, how do we decide how many function calls we can do? Because at the end, we need to return integer instead of returning a function. It's like macros. Rust macros are powerful. And okay, we are not calling adder, or let's say output 1 is equal to adder 1 comma 2 comma 3. That is like, yeah, that is a noob thing, something a noob would do, but a pro programmer would do something like this. E 1 3. print ln output 1 and print ln output 2. Go build main.go, that does at least compile, that is good. And what do we see? 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 6. So that is cool. But this second function, this pro, so-called pro function, is like more complicated than this one. Somehow, like, we had to do, let's increase the complexity by adding a d. So here we just have this, but here, shit, everything is a bit different. Okay. And this thing is not an integer anymore. This is a function that takes in an integer and returns an integer. And yes, again, this thing is not an integer. This is a function that takes in an integer and returns an integer. And this thing is not an integer. This is a function that takes in a function and returns a function. And here, return a function that takes in an integer, and that integer is d, and returns an integer and return a plus b plus c plus d. Yes, that is recursion. Go build dot slash main, and we should see 10. We do see 10 twice, so 10 10. That is nice. At least it works. Okay, assignment. What do we have to do? Okay, we did do the assignment. Okay, we are done with this chapter. That is cool. Complete the getlogger function. It should take in as input a formatter function and return a new function. The new logger function takes as input two strings and passes them to the formatter when the print then of the strings. Yes. And now here, and we do not have the access anymore, so yes, we cannot submit the solutions no longer. And this is struct in Go. That is cool. It's structs. Okay. We use structs in Go to represent structured data. It is often convenient to group different types of variables together. Makes sense. For example, if we want to represent a car, we can do the following: brand, model, doors. Okay, yes, can have multiple doors. What is the long car called? What do we call the long car which has like a lot of things? Limousine. Yes, limousine, limo. And this creates a new struct type called car. All cars have a brand, model, doors, mileage. Yes, if you have mileage. Structs in Go are used to represent data that you might use a dictionary or object for in other languages. So struct in Go are often used to represent data that you might use a dictionary or object for object dictionary. And do structures have methods, or can we add methods to structures like custom types? I guess we can make custom types. We can make custom types in Rust. It's cool. Complete the definition of the message to send struct. It needs two fields, this and this. Okay. Shit, we cannot submit. So we will suppose that we did the right thing, or we can here make a new folder. Go init, I guess. Go or make their boot.dev cd boot.dev go init go mod init boot.dev ls and main.go, and here type message send struct. This should have two things, it seems. It's a phone number, integer, and a message. Makes sense. Phone number, which is an integer, and message is a string. That is cool. We do have an error. It is expected package. Okay, we'll make that. That is cool. And if we do lsp info, shit. Okay, was this much detail? And okay, size lsp log is pretty much filled. We can empty it. Local state nvm lsp config rm rf slash user slash the name is this, and then local share nvim lsp dot l local. In local we have state, local state nvim lsp log. Remove that, and then main.go and lazy update sync. Yep, sync and lsp info. Yep, log size 0 kb. That is cool. Cool. And yes, we will suppose that we did this the correct way and move on to the next one because we cannot submit any more solutions from here. In JS, I guess it determines according to the function call, so we don't need to write all arguments in function. We can simply do function1 shit, function2 b return function a plus b shit. Wait, can we write spaces in YouTube chats? No, we cannot. Yes, shit. If we press control space, shift enter, then it just sends the message and doesn't give a new line. Okay. Structs can be nested to represent more complex entities. Yes. Car can have a wheel, wheel can have a radius and material. Okay, the fields of structs can be accessed using the dot operator. Okay, makes sense. That is cool. Assignment text view has a bug. We have been sending texts that are missing critical bits of information before we send text messages in text view. We must check to make sure the required fields have non-zero values. Okay. In this function, we have to make sure that these fields have non-zero values. So this number cannot be 0. User number cannot be 0, I guess. Complete this function. It should return true only if sender and recipient fields contain a name and a number. If any of them, if any of the default 0 values are present, return false instead. Okay, that is fine. We can just in this thing m to send is of type message to send in this, and in this we have to check if messenger and recipient not equal to empty string, which is like empty string is like shit, I cannot even type here. Empty string is like this. If they are not equal to this thing, then return true, otherwise return false. And we will just suppose that we have done this correctly. Okay, anonymous structs, that is even cooler. Anonymous structs. An anonymous struct is just like a normal struct, but it is defined without a name and therefore cannot be referenced elsewhere in the code. My struct, and let's just have a normal struct, and str type where str type one struct equals, can we do it like this? Number is 1 and message is hello. Expected declaration found integer. Okay. One. Expected operand. Expected this found this. Extra in it. How do we like define a struct? I don't know. Okay. How do you define a struct? My car equals car and inside. Okay. Str equals of type my struct, and inside my struct we have phone number, which is integer 1234, and then message, which is this is the message, and we println, we will have number comma str dot phone number. That is nice. And then message, which is str dot message. You don't have to get the semicolon and being. Go build main main.go. Oh, shit, I messed up. Main.go. What? We overwrote this file, which is very sad. We have to write from scratch function main, and we do have a structure. We do have a structure type my struct phone number type string, and phone number type integer, and message type string, and here str equals my structure where phone number is 1234 and message is, this is the not end but message, and then print line number is comma str dot phone number, and here after this message we have str dot message. Cool. Go build output out main dot go and dot flash out. Yeah, number and message. This is the message. That is pretty cool. That does work. Which keyboard you use? I use like Quatron keyboard. I don't know. I just told them to give me a mechanical keyboard, which is also cheap. Quatron. That is the correct spelling. Mechanical keyboard, and which one? I guess this is the one. Yes. Yes, this is the one. Literally, this is the one. This is the one I'm using right now. IRL in real time. And this, yeah, this does not come with a mouse, so we have to use external mouse. Downside. That is how we Okay, let's define a more complicated struct. Main.go, then this one, inner struct. This will have inner struct, which is inner struct type. And what is inner struct? Inner struct is a structure. Inner struct value or secret value. This is just a normal integer, and this thing has a hide this of type inner. We can remove this, and then here it's equals my struct has hide this whose value is hide this whose value is inner, whose value, yes, inner, and inside inner we have inner struct whose value is inner struct this, which has a secret value which is 42 with a comma. Mm. Println the secret value as it turns out is str dot hide this dot inner struct dot secret value. That is nice. That is quite a bit of nesting. Go build dot flash out, and the secret inner value as it turns out is 42. That is cool. 42 is the answer of the universe. Okay, what is a good reason to use an anonymous struct for which? For that, we will have to see what is an anonymous struct. Here, okay, let's use an anonymous struct then. Let's write, instead of this inner, we will write an anonymous struct. Okay, this structure has inner struct thing, which is of type struct, and that struct has a secret val, which is an integer. That is nice. Hide this secret value equals on this 42. That is wrong. Hide this is of struct which has an inner struct which has a struct inner struct is of type struct which has a secret value which it turns out to be 42. Do we remove this? How do we define stuff here? Struct inner struct Cannot use 42 type integer constant. Expected time. Okay, we will have to see how to initialize this thing. Oh, this is just nesting, but how do we initialize? Hello, shit, team BJB 2056. Long time no see. Hello, Go is pretty cool language. Yes, it is a pretty cool language. Yesterday someone said Go is like writing Python in C++ or C somehow. This does not have semicolons and stuff. And this is like the biggest flex is not Thompson. Shit, it is Thompson. He is the writer of Go. Like, yes, that is the biggest flex any language can have. Ken Thompson is the writer. Let's see, he has done a few things. Kenneth Lane Thompson is an American pioneer of computer science, and Thompson worked at Bell Labs for most of his career, where he designed and implemented the original Unix operating system. So yes, he has done a few things. And he has some books. Roy Croft's 5 chess endgame series. Why is he into chess? That is crazy. Should he literally has written books on chess? That is kind of crazy. John Roycroft advised Ken Thompson in chess game. Okay, John Roycroft was a chess person. I guess this guy. He told Ken Thompson some things about chess. C Python, Python, shit, Python. What is Python? Python and C++ combined. Is Python a thing or shit? Python is a thing. Optimizing static compiler, okay, and a programming language that serves as a superset of Python. Its primary purpose is to allow developers to write Python code that can achieve performance levels comparable to C by compiling it into C code. Shit. Okay. Okay. Python, C extension for Python. Shit. So you compile your Python code into C, which is converted or transpiled or compiled into assembly, which is then finally compiled or turned into machine code. That is quite a bit of layering. He's John too. Good shit. You also said I can call you John. John Carmack. John McAfee. Shit, John McAfee. Yes, John Conway. Who is John Conway? Of course, John Conway. Conway's Game of Life. Yeah. And who wrote? Do I have the book? Yes. Who wrote Blood Meridian? John Carmack. Cormac McCarthy, not John Carmack. Cormac McCarthy. Yes. That's a dangerous book. And shit, I guess it would be very easy for you, comparatively easy for you to read this book because this has like very Texas kind of English, and it is very difficult for me to understand. Like it seems like they are speaking in phrases and stuff like that. It is very difficult to understand this book. The language is quite different. My title is MacTavish should wear. The language, the yeah, language in this book is very different from what I'm used to, the English version that I'm used to. And this is very Texas kind of English, Southern English. Yeah, it might be easy for you to understand. Tootin, Putin. Okay, when should you use anonymous structs? In general, prefer is getting back to this. in general prefer named structs. Named structs make it easier to read and understand your code, and they have the nice side effect of being reusable. Yes, that is nice. I sometimes use anonymous structs when I know I won't ever need to use a struct again. For example, sometimes I will use one to create the shape of some JSON data in HTTP handlers. Okay, if a struct is only meant to be used once, then it makes sense to declare it in such a way that developers down the road won't be tempted to accidentally use it again. You can read more about anonymous structs here if you are curious. No, we are not curious. What is a good reason to use anonymous structs? You are worried about user privacy, you are worried about security, you need to your code to be faster. It is only being used once. Yes. Fourth one, let's hope that is the correct answer. We cannot submit. And moving on to the next one. Okay, the question changed. Yes, the question changed. And shit, that is cool. Only the question changed. Okay, this thing also went to the top. Okay. What is one advantage of using an anonymous struct? Anonymous structs prevent you from reusing a struct definition in you never intend to reuse. Yes, that would be the correct answer. Hopefully, anonymous structs make your code run faster. No, not necessarily. Anonymous structs can be compiled more quickly, not necessarily. And embedded structs is the next thing. You gotta try that. Yes. My sins are close. I am barely solving lead code. Shit. Okay, that is fine. Oh, lead code simple. Uh, I got gaps on green field of lead code problem set. And why you relearning the same concepts and things you already know from C and C++ in Go, because like I want to get used to thinking in Go, like right, makes sense, right? You should definitely be good at Go because major companies use Go nowadays. In GSOC, many companies prefer Go as the language. Okay, let's go. I will get a job after this, and then I will buy the premium version, and then we'll do the course again. Future plans. Go is not an object-oriented language. That is a really big plus point. However, embedded structs provide a kind of data-only interface. It is embedded structs that can be used at times. Keep in mind, Go doesn't support classes or inheritance in the complete sense, but embedded structs are a way to evaluate and share fields between struct definitions. Okay, shit. So this thing would have car is embedded. So truck would also be a car with a brand and model name, but also bed size. So that is a specification in trucks. Bed size. Okay. Embedded versus nested. Unlike nested structs, and embedded structs fields are accessible at the top level like normal fields. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So embedded and nested are different. Makes sense. Like nested structs, you assign the prompted fields with the embedded structure as composite literal. Should how do we assign the things in the air? Okay, that is some crazy syntax. There's actually some crazy syntax. My struct has a thing called hide this, which is of type struct, which has inner struct, which is of type struct, which has secret value of type integer. And now here inside hide this we have inner struct, which is of type struct. The value of inner struct is a structure which has one thing called secret val, which is of type integer, right? And this thing has secret val, which is 42. Cool. Print plen secret, as it turns out, is this go pill or slash out, and the secret of the universe turns out to be 42. That is cool. Yep. Is this too inefficient? I don't know. I don't think so. And what does the reason even mean? That means just getting used to it, like getting familiar with the language, thinking in the language, making the language a part of my brain structure, if that makes sense, right? So that Go does not feel like a foreign language, and I feel home. I feel at home when typing Go. I think that is a good reason. I had an account earlier on LeetCode where I solved questions using Go, but I lost that account, to be honest. Shit. Go is nice. Go seems to be nice. Go seems to be nice. Yes. I need to understand like how memory management works in Go, but I don't want to just do that. And I thought, why not learn the whole thing? Or like, yeah, just be good at it. I have to do this for assignment. Go. Embedded and nested. Yes, embedded is this thing is nested and this thing was embedded. Lane trucks, lane Wagner, and assignment here. Rate limit strict you user struct represents an account holder and a sender is just a user with some additional sender specific data. Sender is just a user with some additional sender data. Okay, so we have to write here like as another not field, just user. That is all we have to do. Like this, we have a car here, we'll just write user here. A sender is a user that has a rate limit, and that tells us how many messages they are allowed to send. Fix the bug. Yeah, we just write user here, which we cannot write because guest mode. Should delete. Yes. Struct methods in Go. We have methods for struct. You can do backend using Go. It is very useful and it is pretty awesome language for backend. Okay, we will do backend stuff, and I guess we can also do game of life in Go. Raylib Go. That is nice. Raylib Go. And Raysun is not there, but Einstein is here. So that is nice. We have Einstein here working in Go. Fulton. And how he's from Scandinavia, and how come he has only 3 friends? And he is like the third contributor in this library, which has 2.2K stars and 190 forks. Okay, that is something. So how does relearning what structs are help in getting used to Go? Not relearning, not relearning what structs are. I'm seeing how structs are defined in Go syntax, getting used to the syntax. And this is not very efficient. I mean, yes, this is not very efficient because I'm right now I cannot submit anything because of the guest mode. But okay, so there is a high level reason, I would say. No, high level in the sense that from a bird's eye strategic point of view, and it is that if I think about optimizing everything, like I'm doing other things also. And if I were to think in the terms of how can I optimize this thing and this thing and this thing and everything that I'm doing, how can I optimize everything, then it becomes very, very difficult to just do anything, because it can get out of hand, right? If I am moving my mouse from this is part of the screen to this part of the screen, and I might start thinking that instead of moving my mouse in this circular motion, I should just take my mouse directly to where I want it to go very, very efficiently. And I'm not saying that you are telling me to be efficient at this level, but it can very easily go out of hand. Like there is a slippery slope there for efficiency, and yeah, it is very difficult. It can get out of hand, and I don't want that. It has happened, and I don't want to repeat that. Start making with project and learning things on the go. Shit, pun intended. Yes. Now laugh. Yes, I'm laughing very hard, like a Joker laugh. You can try C Python or some use cases. It is pretty good. You're gonna love it. Okay, we'll use C Python. C Python, and it also seems interesting. C Python, and it's projects. You will make projects in Go also. Yes. And okay, let's see. You can suggest me some project which we will make in Go. And for 1 week, so till 20, I won't be making anything because I have an assignment, something I have to do. And after that, we'll make a project. You suggest something and we will make that, whatever that is. And yes, don't go full blazing hard. Like don't say write a operating system in Go. Something that is doable and is also challenging. That would be nice. We will write it in Go. Like we created game of life or anything, something in Go, a project idea. And what do we have here? Code crafters. Go, we can build BitTorrent. Shit, I don't know how BitTorrent works. So that would be a nice project to make, build a terminal browser using Go. Shit. Terminal browser. That would be nice. That would be good. That would be actually good. There is Larynx or Lynx browser. Lynx.js. Lynx is an animal also. Lynx. Something like Lynx. Shit, we will use a HTTP parser. Oh, okay, so there would be some way of sending requests. Of course, there would be some way of sending requests using Go, and then we will have to use a HTTP parsing library. We will not write our own HTTP parser. We will use a HTTP parser library. Start with some simple. You can build a license adder. What is a license adder? License in like HTTPS license, like certbot or something. Links. This is the browser, and I don't know why this looks like this somehow. Okay, it is like this. I don't know how to use this thing. Links browser, save to disk. Use arrow keys to move. Download option. Yes. So this is a terminal based browser. Links, and I don't know why the background is not completely black. Two commands activate this, that, searching. How do I quit? Q. Are you sure? Yes. So something like links. That would be nice. Okay, let's actually do this. We will have a protobuf JSON file which would contain licenses. Licenses for what? And a placeholder whenever user calls the function with the name of the license, it will automatically take the name of the user from Git and current year using standard library and add the license file. License file as in license for what? you would have a proton. Okay, this is like the implementation part. But what is license? License for what? There is a license for HTTPS, Dream. Ah, this thing. I guess we can look up the license here. Cookies, data, connection is secure. Certificate. This is called certificate, and this is by SHA-256. Details. Certificate. Yeah, whatever this means. In the current directory, it will be very simple. Okay. Shared open source licenses makes sense. So this would just download a file from the internet and add that to your project. Custom build protocol. Okay. Building TCP UDP from scratch. For that, we would need direct access to not just sockets, direct access to IP. I think when we can write TCP on top of, I don't, can we write TCP UDP from scratch? That is a terminal, that is a kernel level thing. And we would need to make direct function calls. Yes, that is a kernel level project. That is a kernel level project. That is a kernel level project. This thing is handled by the kernel. So we would essentially be making a Linux module. That is cool, but not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I want to understand how Linux works before getting into this. Like uh, this project. Terminal browser. Yes, this is thing is challenging. This thing is good. Terminal browser. I can send a HTTP request and a library that would parse the HTTP response and present that thing as a text. That is cool. Yes, it would be easy. You need to change the license based on the user. License changes on based on the user. The licenses would have placeholders. Okay, you need to use regex or something to find the placeholder and replace it. Okay, not really. You can build a simple UDP protocol. It is not that. Wait, because I've done socket programming only in C, and there we call the socket function. And when we call the socket function, we tell the socket function that give me a socket with this like whatever IPv4 or the version of the IP, and then the protocol, and protocol can be UDP or TCP. And I don't know whether this, I think this function is a kernel level function. We can check. We can check socket.cpp and include socket. Where is the socket file? I don't know where is the socket file. I forgot. Socket type file socket. Where is the socket? Socket header file. Shit. Okay, we'll not use that. We'll not use that. We'll look up here. Man socket sys socket socket. This takes in AF inet IPv4 and sock Yes, sock here, dgram is for UDP and stream is for TCP and others I don't know. Just this. So, and now let's g++ socket.cpp and make assembly file and socket.s. And if socket is being called directly with the arguments that we have given, then okay, yes, socket function is a kernel level function. Socket function is a kernel level function. Yes, socket function is a kernel level function. Yeah. Yep, you'll be use raw sockets, but you will define how to set the data, how to package it and send it. Yes. Open Wireshark and see how is TCP and UDP data is transferred. Wireshark, the guy who made Wireshark is in DEF CON. TCP and UDP is transferred, but build a simple TCP UDP server. You can try it in Go itself. It is easier to make it in Go than in C, and a simple client and C. Here, like this socket function, okay, and here this socket function maps directly to a syscall, not a syscall. This is a function level call, and there is no definition for this one. Yeah, so this is kernel level thing. This would be like implementing your own printf in C, for which we have to use kernel level things, because the kernel, as my understanding is, the kernel will not give you a socket which does not, yeah, the kernel will not give you the ability to apply on TCP, because TCP is handled by the kernel. Like if you have a server and a client who are connected by a TCP connection and they are like sending data and doing stuff, then let's say server sends some data to the client, and yeah, the program sends some data on the socket which has been given to the server by the kernel, and then the server closes the connection, and the responsibility that all of that data which was given to the socket by the server gets to the client, all of that responsibility is handled by the kernel, and there is no external program which the kernel calls. So yeah, TCP is part of the Linux server, right? Hello, share your schedule for streaming. What is, there is no schedule. I just start at around, I guess, 11:30. Search raw sockets. That ain't raw. That bro needs more raw sockets. Let's see. Raw sockets provide direct access to low-level network protocols by bypassing the standard TCP/IP track shit, my bad, stack, allowing applications to manually create and manipulate packets, including their headers. So that is cool. That is cool. Okay. So sock raw. That is raw. So that is cool. Using a raw socket, we have access to packets and we can manipulate their headers. That is good. That is cool. That is cool. That is cool. Okay, shit. So we have another project idea, I suppose. This is not as low level as I thought. Start with a simple builder license. Implementing, yes, at some point. Implementing the TCP or UDP protocol in Go. Okay, so we have two projects now. A browser, a terminal-based browser, or else you never learned about it. Yes, makes sense. Lol, I too came to know about it recently when I was implementing it. Shit. Uh, yes, there is a meme, and it's just for fun. Meme is me giving advice meme, I guess. No, shit, there was a based on all anime. No, there was a meme that giving advice to a friend after me learned the thing like 2 days ago, something like that, just for fun, not like making. I'm not trying to make it offensive or something. That was a funny thing. Okay, so yeah, that is cool. That is cool. We do have access to lower level programming. We can change the headers of packets. Okay, and to implement TCP, 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 RFC, TCP, RFC. Latest is this one. And okay, we'll not look this up. This is TCP number 9293. Let's get TCP 9293. RFC, RFC 9293, and send this to rfc.txt and in rfc.txt. Here we have the whole thing, TCP, and 5,000 lines. 5,000 lines is, I guess, fine. Control G, 5,000 lines. This document, it specifies the transmission control protocol. Yeah, we can. This is not that much difficult to implement. The best thing I you can make is GNU rewrite. Shit, what is GNU rewrite? 793. 7793. I read it right. 793. Or the best thing you can make is GNU rewrite. What is GNU rewrites? TCP. Okay. So this is the original one. Literal shit. OG. This is the OG one. 1981. Prepared for all of this. The length is same. There are, due to some reason, a lot of blank lines in this one, which we can remove. Which we can remove. We can remove all the blank lines. In the whole file, run the global command. Every line that matches this, run the command delete globally. Shit. Okay. Last command. Yes. Shit. I messed up. Last command. This new line is at the start. Yo, we removed all the lines which were just new lines, so that is cool. That is cool. Vim. That is Vim. What about these? What about these? Yeah, that makes sense. Because these are not new lines. These lines start by spaces. That is something. And we can remove all of these lines which have September 1981 at their start. So on the whole file, run the global command, and look for September, wherever it says September at the start of the line, delete. Run the delete command on those lines, and those are also gone. And what else can we remove? We can remove every line that starts with this bracket and says page. Okay, global command, every line that starts with this and says page, delete it. And the total size is 3057 lines. Yes, we are optimizing. Rewrite some of GNU's core utility functions. Shit. Like ls with logos. Shit. Okay. More project ideas. That is cool. Or make it or CD. Shit. CD. I don't think we can write CD because that does not have a separate binary. It is a built-in function of the shell. So we cannot write CD, but we can write make there. We can write make there by some syscall. By some syscall. Yes. So, use go to download and the use go. Should not go to download. Go. Use go to download all of the RFCs, save it to a folder. I did that for some thing I planned to do, and I forgot what I had planned. Shit. आंसर पता चला तो क्वेश्चन क्या था पता नहीं. That is a song. Search for nerd fonts that allows you to show logos and things of UTF. Eat itself. Nerd fonts. Font. Yes, we were doing Go. We were learning Go. My bad. Nerd fonts. Ah, where? Yeah, yeah, nerd font. I guess this is nerd font. Hmm. Stuff, emoji stuff. And I'm using LSD. Yes, I'm on LSD here. Why are there so many object files? Increment. Okay, what is happening? This is in Rust. Dependencies. There are a lot of dependencies in Rust. And therefore, we were seeing a lot of symbols using the nm function the other day. Yes. Go, not the language, to cheat sheets. Should not the language. Cheat sheets. Uh, Directory. Yo, we got directory. You have this one directory folder. Yes. The fuck? Shit. Okay. Ah, shit. That is genius. That is genius. LSD. Okay, and back to go. Shit. Now we have three really good project ideas, not augmented reality. This one. This building BitTorrent in Go, and then TCP implementation. I will have to see TCP implementation and links implementation in Go. You can copy and paste that as text, not as image. Use that in the ls command. Yeah, we can use that in the ls command if the terminal supports this thing, and it will, because this is ghosty. Of course, this will support things. Ghosty is cool. Yeah. Struct methods in Go. Let's see. Struct methods in Go. While Go, not object oriented, and it does support methods that can be defined on structs. Methods are just like Rust. Methods are just functions that have a receiver. A receiver is a special parameter that syntactically goes before the name of the function. That syntactically goes before the name of the function. We have the rect function. This function R. R is the placeholder. R dot. Okay, that is how we give some method to a structure in Go. Okay, this is not what strict methods would remind you of classes. I don't know what was the use of making it so complicated. Take it as method in classes. This is the method, and in C++, the only difference between a struct and a class is that in a class by default everything is private, and in a struct by default everything you define is public. That is the only difference between structures and classes in C++, and that is crazy. It's like telling the function which class it is a part of. Class, don't use the word class here. This is not a class, this is a struct. Or like, yeah, naming, because this does not have polymorphism and everything which an object would be expected to have. And so there must also be a underlying difference between a struct and a class. And my understanding is this, right? When we define a struct, then it has a definition stored in the static part of the program. We have like the stack here, the heap here. This is the static part, and this is the text part. And inside this, we have our structure, which has definition of functions. So this has functions, function definitions, and the fields, field 1, field 2, or like whatever the data is. And whenever we define a struct, we store the data either in the stack or on the heap, wherever. And whenever we call a function on that struct, our instruction pointer goes to that part in the static thing and it returns. So all of them share the same function. So function is not being defined again and again. All of instances of the same structure literally call the same function from the same part of the memory. And that is the same thing which happens in a class. So what is the difference? I don't know. So I'm just drawing a comparison. Yo, I hate classes, so I don't know much about it. Yes, classes are bad. Classes are bad. Object-oriented programming and the big oops anatomy of 35-year-old mistake. Yeah, so yes, this is a mistake. I have not watched this whole thing, but this is pretty cool. Save to watch later. C++ bad. Yes, we should not use classes. That is why we hate Java. Okay, back to Go. And Rust also has functions, and this is nice. It's like this is equivalent in C++ to sure. At this point, it might be that every folder in my whole, every directory in my whole tree structure has a file named hello.cpp everywhere. Like if we define a class here and my class, very unique original name, and this has a variable int a. Right, and here we can say this will also have a public method, and that will be named, that will return an integer, and we will call the method a method which takes in an integer. Then we can define it later. Method takes in x and a plus x. But even a type specifier is required for all declarations. Ah, increase a by x, and in public we would also have my class takes in a number x, and we'll say a becomes equal to x and nothing in the function body. There is something wrong with this. Why would you expect this? Yeah, okay. And we could have a more complicated definition here, like x into x. A would be equal to x into x, and in the function body, we will make a plus equals 1. Increase a by 1. And I don't know why I'm doing this, but anyways, auto class, we'll call it method, and a would become equal to 10 here, and if we call class dot method with 5, so a would become, and this will also return something. So if we do std cout, this will give us 9, 10 plus 5, 15, and let's make a public, and std, if we literally see a's value, we, and let's say after that we call class dot method 5, a would become equal to 20, and if we do cls dot a, uh, cls dot a, the output, okay, predict the output would be, let's see, I think I know the output, and initialization, uh cpp fanboy, shit, that is some crazy emoji skills. I can also do this, look at this, uh cpp plus hello.cpp output out. Okay, can you predict the output of this program, this little thing here? What would this predict or print to the screen? Yeah, yo, yes, that would be the thing. Shit. Okay, shit. Because on this line we are changing a, and here a would be equal to 15, and we are printing 15 plus 5, 20. And here a itself changes to 20. So shit, 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 shit. Okay, okay. We outsmarted ourselves. Shit. I cannot work with packages. Packages from where, Mr. Yoru? Yes. Yes, shit. We outdid ourselves. Shit. Shit. Because this is plus. Shit. Okay. Okay. But this is fine. This is fine. We can get better. We can recover. We can recover at some point. Hopefully. Shit. This is sad. My bad. Back to Go. This is Go. Structure methods. This is kind of cool. Look at this. Define a function for this thing, and this is the function. Okay, let's do the same thing and go. Let's do the same thing and go. Should where is the CPP file? Boot.Dev में shit. Why is this file a executable? Somehow this file is a executable. And look at this harpoon. That is the power of harpoon. We can hello.cpp. Yes, we do need hello.cpp main.go. We don't need this. We don't need this. Harpoon. That is harpoon. Look at this. Look at this. Harpoon. Any package. Let's go. And any package I create and I import it doesn't work. I've seen people using NetBeans to get it working, but I don't like NetBeans. Okay, which domain even is this? Where do we use NetBeans? NetBeans, Apache, NetBeans. What is NetBeans used for? NetBeans is used as an integrated shit. NetBeans is an IDE for building applications primarily in Java. Java. What is JetBrains? Java, but also supports languages like PHP and this. Okay, packages for any package I create and I import it doesn't work. Shit. Oh, and to be harsh, I would say skill issues. Yes, and let's test our skills by implementing this same thing. We have a class as the class here in Go. Okay, you will even use the same name. My class is a struct which has a as an integer. Yeah, that is kind of it. And then a function with CLS of my class, and the name of the function is method takes in an integer x and returns an integer. Yes, my class dot a plus equals x and return a plus x. Yeah, and yeah, that is very equivalent. But here it took this much code, and here only this much, and this is also very clean. Okay, anyways, CLS equals my class where A is I- okay, we don't have this part. Okay, we don't have this part. We don't have this part. Yes, we don't have this function. Nope. Java created it out of somewhere. Why use Vim? Why not use Vim? Vim is pretty cool. Look at this. Harpoon. I can change this between files, and the main reason is I use Vim. By the way, yeah, this is the main reason why anyone would use Vim. You know, I use Vim by the way. I use Arch by the way. Shit, Vim is not more difficult than Arch. Shit. Arch is now easier because of Omarki or Omaki. But yeah, Vim. Just for the memes. Yes, he is from Church of Emacs. Richard Dawkins. Richard, not Dawkins. Mr. Richard. Okay, we cannot have uh, constructors. That would just make Go object-oriented language if we did. Uh, and Go. lang. Shit. Returns a pointer. We'll have to do some pointer arithmetics. New person. Okay, yes. Kind of. So, okay. We can have kind of a structure. Func new my class and this statement integer a and returns uh, type my class, and we can even name this thing cls my class, and this will internally say cls equals my class with a set a equals a. That does work. And a cls dot a multiply by cls dot a, and then also cls dot a plus equals 1, and we don't have to return from here, from this function, because we are saying that the thing that we are returning is of type my class and its name is cls, and here we have defined a thing named cls, so it will be returned automatically. So that is kind of nice. And undefined a no new variable on left side. This, let's name this thing x. Hmm. Here and here class equals new my class with 3, and then we will call the method cls dot method with number 5 also, and then cls dot method with 5 and println cls dot a. Now what would be the output of this program? Any guesses? You studied computer science or just learning on your own? Me has taken admission in college and me learning on my own. Autodidact. Go has weak pointers. That is a new term. Yeah, studied by I mean, college hasn't taught me things. I, so yeah. I mean, even if you are in a college, you have to learn on your own. Yeah, that is the thing. And so it is not as powerful or dangerous. Shit, Go has a garbage collector and it also has pointers. Okay, it is not dangerous. That syntax returns the pointer to the structure, and you can do chaining of methods. Shit, chaining. Okay, one step at a time. And what do we have now? Go build output out and hi.go. Should we into Boot.Dev? Yeah. Go build output out main.go /go, and the output would be 2020. 2020. Okay, that is messed up. That is messed up. Why is it 2010? Huh. Shit, because this thing is being sent by value and not by a reference. How do we send this by a reference? Shit. Is this a reference now? I don't know. Okay. We did discover that is a reference. That is how we send a reference. And I don't like this. This is being treated as a Go executable, which is not very good. Let's do LSD. Yeah, this is executable. May not go. We do not want this to be executable. Let's say, and why is this file 1.5 MBs? That is crazy. Uh, okay. It should, oh, yes, of course, because this is 1.5 MBs in size because it has the garbage collector and the Go runtime environment, the whole thing. Yes, it doesn't teaches things. Honestly speaking, implementing the practical of the theory is easy. I want to learn the theory. I already know how to do it. I don't know why or how does it work. Yes, theory. They go hand in hand. I mean, one thing can complement the other. And let's do chmod. And what would be read and write? That would be 6. 666, the number of the devil may not go. And now this thing is not executable anymore. That is really cool. And not just 666. Come on. The root would be able to read and write, and others would own, yes, and the other people on the same system, on the owner. Shit, I think owner comes next. Owner would be able to do this, and others won't be able to do anything. It may not go, and list DL, and yeah, that is really cool. That is cool. Okay. And what is the assignment? Struct methods in Go. While Go is not object oriented, it does support methods that can be defined on structs. Methods are just functions that have a receiver. Methods are just functions that have a receiver. What does that mean? Methods are just functions that have a receiver. Functions bound to some thing. A receiver is, okay, yes, it is, they define what is a receiver. Receiver is a special parameter that syntactically goes before the name of the function. Okay, syntactically goes before the name of the function. This thing. A receiver is just a special kind of function parameter. In the example above, R in rect could just as easily have been rec or even xyz. Okay, by convention, Go code will often use the first letter of the struct's name by convention. Okay, receivers are important because they will, as you will learn in the exercises to come, allow us to define interfaces that are structs, and other types can implement interfaces. Yes, like what is the method by which we are communicating with the struct. Things pure statically. Nothing is dynamic. Yes. Everything is here. Everything is literally here. 1.5. Let's do this. Go build empty. We are building an empty thing. Empty file is also 1.5 MBs. Yeah, yeah, sure. Like C, which has most of its library dynamically linked. Yes, shit, I didn't look up like who is calling the dynamic thing. Whether that is good or bad is really debatable, but I feel like they should have an option for dynamic linking. Okay, shit, if this is not okay, that would be a different case if static linking was the default option, but if you want, you can opt to dynamically link your libraries, but if static link is the only option, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. That is actually crazy. I guess they don't expect their language to be used everywhere, because if they expected Go to be used everywhere, then dynamic linking as is done in C would be much preferable, because you would expect the dynamic libraries to be already there on the system on which you are running your new Go thing. But if you don't expect your language to be widespread, then you have to ship it. There are the quirkiness I was talking about. Shared quirkiness. Yes. Assignment. Okay. A receiver is just a special kind of. Yeah. Let's clean up. Text use authentication logic. We store our users' authentication data inside an authentication info struct. We need a method that can take the data and return a basic authentication string. Takes in data, and we cannot actually write, but I guess we have done enough practice with the methods, so we can go to the next part. Memory layout. Yes, that is what we wanted. That is what I'm after. Memory layout. And yes, they also use Excalibur. Yeah, they also use Excalibur, which is cool. In Go, structs sit in memory as a continuous block with fields placed one after another as defined in a struct, like in C, like in C. And there is like the whole thing in C about what should be the order in which you are defining stuff in your struct. That is because of the alignment. If you have a, if your alignment is 4-bit, okay, yes, here's the question. If you have bool, then in C, this is about C. If you have a boolean, then an integer, and then a boolean, what is the size of this structure? And a boolean is 1 byte, integer is 4 bytes, and yeah, this is also a boolean. So what is the size of this structure in C++ or in C? Yes, we kind of peeking. And yeah, so what is the size of this structure? What would be the size of this structure? We have a simple structure which has, and this order is specific. Bool, then a integer, and then a boolean. What would be the total size of this structure? And should I give options? It is always funny to me how some mediocre Indian audience is. I cannot beat 100 rupees. It wouldn't even be half of this. You start making one of those projects you have planned. Huh? Wait, it is always funny to me how mediocre Indian audience is. I can bet 100 rupees. It even wouldn't be half of this. If you start making one of those projects you plan. Yeah. Yeah, and that is something that I'm trying to change with these streams, you know. Yeah, yeah. I mean, how cool it would be to go to your college and find a person there, a boy or a girl, and talk to them about quantum computing. Just talk the ability and the fact that they would understand what is quantum mechanics, and just talk to them about the wave function, from Schrodinger's cat, and stuff like what is the Hamiltonian of a given system, or what is the partition function, what is Boltzmann factor, and what, yeah, just that would be really cool. As an RC, shit. As an RC, we don't take a bath, but I am a Mac user, so I guess stereotypes are different for me because of Mac. And yeah, just like that that environment where that would be really cool if you can just go and talk to people about these crazy cool things. Like what is, and most people don't even know what these things are. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that this is necessary that you should know what a Hamiltonian of a quantum system is. Hamiltonian is just the total energy of a given microstate in a quantum system given configuration. This is not necessary to be known, but the mindset that this is not for me, I cannot know this, or that this is just useless in some sense, or not required. Yes, this is something extra. This is not the main thing. This is something extra, like watching movie. This is something extra. This is like a side thing. This cannot be the main thing. But those are fun to learn. Yes, these things are fun to learn. And yes, like if this would be more acceptable, it would be actually cool. Instead of worrying about getting a job and yeah, getting a job and earning money, if we could just be a little bit more open-minded and more passionate about learning, that would actually change quite a few things, because I guess we have more than 1 billion people, and I guess if you just take probability of percent, like 0.0001% in 1 million, that is quite low. That is like quite rare. Okay, and let's say 0.1% in a million, 10 power 6, and multiply this by 3. Should that is 1% in a billion. Okay, that is also, if 1% in 1 million, this would give you 1000 people. And if we are saying there is 1 in a million person who are a great physicist, and I don't think that is a very high program, like that is an overestimate. I think that is an underestimate, but still, let's say that this is the probability of someone being a great physicist or a mathematician, 1 in a million. And in a country with 1 billion people, we can expect to see 1000 great physicists or something, but we don't. And I guess that is a societal phenomena which we have to change, yes, which we have to change. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that is something. And let's read out memory layout now. Yeah. Now let's go. Most of that can be attributed to mediocrity, but there is a reason why there is the mediocrity, right? And we would also have to define what you exactly mean by mediocrity. And also, you are just talking with text, so you have a disadvantage here. You cannot express your thoughts completely because the whole bandwidth is just a text from your side, but I have my full mouth and actions and everything. So yeah, you don't have much expressiveness in your thoughts here. And in Go, structural memory, yes, sure. And back to the main question, how much size does this thing take? This is structure in C++, and this would take C or C++. This would take, because of alignment. If we had a bool which takes 1 byte, and we have a integer which takes 4 bytes, and we have another bool which also takes 1 byte, but we cannot have these things like this. The only way we can have them, it would be like something like this, where we don't have anything in this part, and our first bool is here, and then the integer is in these 4 bits, right? The integer, and then the last bool here, and the size is 4 plus 4 plus 1, 9 bytes, instead of what we would expect of 1 plus 1 or 6, or maybe you wouldn't expect, but yeah, I would expect it to be 6, but it is 9 bytes, and which we can avoid or fix by storing the integer first and then storing the bool bytes. So we would have 4 bytes storing the integers, the one singular integer, and then 2 bytes, one for each boolean. One bool, so total 6 bytes, if that makes sense. Yes. Let's talk it on Discord. Yes, that would be a much better platform. Yes, we will talk it out. Send location. Send the location. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that is the size of this. And should uh there was a there was a talk. I think you were the one who suggested the talk by someone, not Rob Pike. Shit, I forgot. I forgot the name of the person. He gave a talk on object-oriented programming and how we can save memory in object-oriented programming. Um, Object-oriented programming, OOP. Save memory or talk. Where are the thumbnails? Jonathan Blow. No. Yes, Terry Davis. Of course. Yeah, he knows. He knows. Terry Davis knows his thing. Yes. Yes. Kurt Jamangal. He is the man. He is the man. Shit, yeah, it is not here. It is not here. I forgot. It is in my watch later, but I do not want to open my watch later. Anyways, instruct sits in memory in a continuous blocks, and the order does matter. So 2 bytes for this because 16 bits, and then 8 and 8. Yes, makes sense. Looks in memory like this. Yes, cool. 2 bytes, 1 byte, 1 byte. Field ordering matters? Question mark. Yes, it does. The order of fields in a struct can have a big impact on memory usage. This is the same struct. And yes, shit, I lied here. Yes, I did lie here. This thing would not take 6 bytes. This would take 8 bytes because the size of these blocks is the same as the size of the biggest data structure, which is an int. So each block would take 4 bytes. 4 bytes for and 4 bytes. And the first block would be completely utilized, and the second block would only be utilizing the first of its 2 bytes. And in here we won't be using 9 bytes. That does not make sense. Here we will be using 12 bytes, and we are not using these 3 bytes and these 3 bytes. Here we will be using 12 bytes. So I did lie there. Yeah, so it is very bad. If saving memory is the priority, then OP language is in the way to go, in my opinion. Shit. Okay, why would it take more memory? Shit, I don't know the underlying structure of object-oriented programming. I only know it from the interface that is given to us for writing a class and accessing object and methods. I'll have to look into that. The order of the field has a big impact on memory usage. This is the same struct as before, but poorly, literally the same thing, kind of the same thing. This would have been 32 for what we wrote. Yeah, but yeah, this is the same thing that we wrote above in the escalator. It looks in memory like this: wasted 1 byte and wasted 1 byte. Yes. And this is nice. They have dotted boxes here. That is cool. Notice that Go has aligned the fields, meaning that it has added some padding, wasted space to make up for the size difference between uint 16 and 8 times. It is done for execution speed but can lead to increase in memory usage. To be honest, you should not stress about memory layout. However, if you have a specific reason to be concerned about memory usage, aligning the fields by size largest to smallest can help. You can also use the reflect package to debug the memory layout. Okay, type of this stats type size. Okay, a real story. Okay, story time. I once had a server in production that held lot of structs in memory, like hundreds of thousands in a list. When I reordered the fields in the struct, the memory usage of the program dropped by over 2 gigabytes. It was a huge performance win. Shit. Bro can add this into his CV. Our over engineering boss as is at it again. He is He's heard about memory layout and wants to squeeze every last bit of byte out of the structs and run the tests to see the current size of the structs, then update the structs defining the best layout. Okay. For this, we can have, I think here, user ID. This would depend on the length of the user ID, but it would be much better to use this user ID as the first field in the struct and then these two things. And in case of this shit, move this at the top, permission level at the top, and all of these three things at the bottom. That is also done. Cool. And okay, we are almost at the last section of this. And yes, if memory saving is the priority, then don't do. Empty structs are used in Go as a unary value, anonymous empty struct type. Okay, again going back to C++, hello.cpp, there is a way which is like very crazy. There's a valid C syntax which is this, this, this. This is valid. This is completely valid. And what we have here is this is a lambda function. This part is telling that the right part is a lambda function. So yeah, if let's write it out, a lambda function with no parameters and an empty body being called at place. This is a lambda function with no parameters and an empty body and is being called at place. We can also write something here. And this also works. Hello, and compile and run. And what do we see? We see hi. That is nice. Yeah, lambda functions. Main.go and back to this memory layout. Memory layout, empty structs. We do have empty structs, anonymous struct of type empty, named empty struct, type empty, which has nothing, empty, empty. Yeah, in both the cases, empty is empty. And shade, we do have shadowing in Go. So if I do A equals 5 and then A equals high, no new variable on the left side of A, no new variables. Okay, There is no shadowing in this. Okay, I thought this might be like Rust. Okay, the cool thing about empty structs is that they are the smallest possible type in Go. They take up 0 bytes of memory. Shit. They are literally empty, not even figuratively. In 64, later in this course, you will see how and when they are used. It is surprisingly often. Okay, mostly with maps and channels. Maps would represent when we have a empty value somewhere. Okay, and we have this. Bool takes up 1 byte, U16 which takes 2 bytes, and 64, that is 64 bits, as 8 bytes of memory. And what will be the answer of this? What does the empty anonymous struct have? Two pairs of braces. Okay, empty anonymous, this part defines the struct, and this is giving its value to the struct. It doesn't, it is a syntax. No, this is not a syntactical error, because the Go developers like fluxing their 200 WPM typing speed. Nope, struct. This is the type, empty struct, and this is the value, yes, which is also empty. Which order from least to most memory usage? Least to most. Okay, least memory is the empty struct, and then after that bool, then you int 16, and then 64-bit integer. That is nice. And then update users, that would be the second last part. That is nice. 7, that is a prime number. Okay, we need a way to differentiate between standard and premium users. When a user is created, they use a membership type, and that type will determine the message character limit. We need a user to differentiate between a standard. We need a way to differentiate between a standard user and a premium user. Yeah. When a new user is created, they need a membership type and update user. That type will determine the message character limit. New user returns a user. This is constructor. Yeah, membership type. Depending on the membership type, name string. Yes. Create a new user membership. It should have a type. New struct membership. Okay. It should have type and character limit. Update user struct to embed a membership. Okay, we can do that. And complete the new user function. It should return a new user depending on the message limit, and message character limit should be 1000, otherwise it should be 100. That does make sense. That does make sense. And we won't be able to write this because guest mode. But we can do something like this. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Missing return type. Yes, that does make sense. And we have membership, membership type, which is a structure which has type, a string, and then char limit, which is an integer. We cannot use type. We'll use capital T. Let's go and embed this here. Membership type, and here we'll create a new user, and we'll call it return value equals, or more intuitively, user equals user type, where type is membership type, and then char limits depends. We won't give char limit just yet, and name is just ish name. No. Unknown field. Why would this be unknown even though we have embedded the membership type structure inside user? Unknown field type in struct literal of type user declared and not used. Return with type is somehow unknown. Dot membership type is a field dot member recursive. Uh, why does this thing not work? Embedded. Okay, I guess we didn't read the embedded part. Clearly, embedded structs. How do we access and define stuff? Embedded versus nested. Okay, this is how we define, but we can access them directly. That makes sense. Membership type, membership type, where we have type equals membership type. Membership type is not a type. Membership type. That is cool. And if membership type equals premium or something here, yeah, user premium. And if this is premium, then what we will do, we will say in our user dot jar limit equals 1000 and else user dot jar limit equals 100, or we can skip this part and here we can say jar limit is 100. That is much better. And that is cool. That's cool. So what is the data type of membership? Membership is a structure. You didn't clarified. Membership is a string. This one with a small m and this one with the capital M is a structure, and that checks out. That checks out. And the next one now, last one. Send message. Shit, are we using some protocol? Create a send message method for user struct. It should take a message string and message length as input, and if the message length is within the user's character limit, return the original message and true, indicating message can be sent. Don't touch code below this line. Let's just copy paste. Okay, function for user on type user, which takes in the name of the function, which is send. We can keep it whatever we want. MSG, messenger of God, and then string. This returns bool and bool and return the original message and a boolean. So string as the first thing, and like order does not actually matter because we are not going to submit because we cannot submit. Hello, you are a very joyous person, I have to say. JoyMac03. Yeah, we take in a string, and if we don't use message, this msg dot split, how do we get side? Yes, len. We call the len function. Len of message. If this is greater than or equal to the user dot message char limit. If we are above the limit, explicitly above the limit, then we will return. The first thing is the message, and the second thing is false. And otherwise, return the message and true for else. Yes, yes, we are genius. We did the whole thing. We won't even submit because we know we did the right thing. Interfaces and go and share. I guess that I want to take a little break. Okay, there are 13 people. That is shit. I have 13 reasons why I should not stop. Pun intended. And interfaces. Okay. Hmm. To revise the last part, what did we do? Structs. Yeah, we are like pretty much familiar with the structs. We can give them data. Structs can be embedded, can be nested, can have methods, can return methods, can have constructors in the form of other functions acting as their constructors. Oh, I still don't understand interfaces, or why should I use them? Interfaces, we will get to interfaces. Now 16, shit, 16 is by 1 to 8, damn it, 1 bit shift 1 to 8. Okay, uh, we use structs, huh? Okay, we use should we did structs. Okay, interface, and this is very sad. This is very sad. We cannot submit anything because we don't have the pro package. We cannot even talk to the bot. Like they won't even let us type here. But if we want, what we can do is go Boot.Dev and watch this 9-hour video if you want. Like this has everything. He is the creator, Lane Wagner. He is Mr. Lane Wagner. Yes, he's very genius. Like literally 1.2 million people. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's okay. And yes, this whole course is very cool. This video is very cool about Git, and yeah, this is just very cool. This is very cool. This is very good. And also the length of the video, 420. This is very cool. And getting back to interfaces, to get back to interfaces, 7 in mine and 15 in yours. YouTube. Kinase. Yes, sustenance. Shit. 14 reasons why. A baker's dozen is 13. Hannah Baker. Interfaces allow you to focus. Okay, we did structs and makes sense. Okay, now interfaces, something like TypeScript interfaces, allow you to focus on what a type does rather than how it is built. Okay, they can, yeah, interfaces are custom types and just types, not even declaration, just types. Makes sense. Not even what it does or how it does it. What a type does rather than how it is built. They can help you write more flexible and reusable code by defining behavior like methods that uh, different types can share. This makes it easy to swap out or update parts of your code without changing everything else. Makes sense. Makes sense. Interfaces are just collections of method signatures. Method. Yes, that is. Bro is stealing mouths from my words. Um, Interfaces are just collections of method signatures. A type implements. A type implements an interface if it has methods that match the interface's method signature. A type implements an interface. Is that the correct wording? A type implements an interface if it has methods that match the interface's method signature. Okay, a type implements a type. I don't like this statement. A type implements an interface. A type implements a variable implements an interface would be a better thing to say. Okay, I guess okay, they have their definition of types and stuff. I think of them basically as blueprint or RFC. What is RFC? Shit, request for comments, my bad. Which defines, and yes, 13 reasons why, which defines what are available rather than how. Might be. Is I also have a like definition for interfaces in my head. I'm trying to understand what they mean by a type implements interface. That is nice. And what are available rather than how. Might be skill issues, shit, but I still don't know why should I use it, or maybe ignorance of not working on a very large. I guess none of us have worked on a large code base. And types, I mean interfaces. I think I've used interfaces somewhere in React. And like if you have an interface with some things, like there is something integer. mm, okay, where would you use an interface? You would use it for defining if you have a server, a sender and receiver share. Yes, let's say sender. Yes, in a server, you might have a type of a sender and type of a receiver. And due to some reason, you want these types to be different so that if a sender, not a server, sender and receiver, even if they should have, okay, there are some things, they should have the same fields. Like if there should be username, whatever fields are there in the receiver, they should also be present in the sender and vice versa. So they should have same fields. But let's say you want a restriction that if you do a receiver equal to sender, and even though they might have same fields, and even if they have same values in those fields, this should not turn out to be equal. This should not turn out to be true, or this should not even be possible because these are of different types. So we want the sender and the receiver to be of different types. But the thing is, we want same fields to be there. So in this case, we can use our interface. We will say that sender type implements share. Yes, we can use the word implement now. The sender type implements our interface, which says that whatever type implements me, the interface is saying this. INTF interface, yes, is saying whatever type implements me should have a username which is a string and some ID, which would be integer, and then we can say that receiver implements this interface and sender also implements this interface, so that if we change some fields in here, they will be changed in both. And if we have a sender and receiver with the same values in each of the fields, we won't get it true when we compare them. I think that is one use case where we can use this. Can it be called a type of inheritance? I guess. I mean, these definitions are not hard bound. These are flexible, and yes, we can call this inheritance, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. If it is inheriting from X, it must have this method, like shape interface. If it is shape, it must have a parameter and area or a draw function. Yeah, cool. Car of Toyota, and it must have wheels. Every car has a wheel. Share or vehicle interface, which uh, gives shit interfaces can be inherited. If you have an interface of vehicle that can create another interface of car or interface of a plane, and then this interface of a car can create types. Yeah, we can create types out of this. Yeah, I guess like bulldozer car, or like, I don't know, JCB car. Yes, JCB is also a car, and yeah, stuff like that. Okay, interfaces allow you to, yes, and a type implements an interface if it has methods that match the interface's method signatures. Makes sense. Yes, shape literally says shape. Type struct. Yes, okay. Shape is an interface which has a method which doesn't take in anything but returns a 64-bit float value, and parameter does the same thing. We have a rectangle which has a width and a height, which are both float 64. Okay, this is a nice declaration instead of writing them on different lines. And then we are adding a function area and a function parameter here. Then we can have a circle which has a radius, which is also implementing area and parameter, but where are we even using in the shape interface and this whole thing? When a type implements an interface, it can then be used as that interface type. So fmt printf area is this. We What is the use of this thing? Shape, we are not using even the word shape in any of this. So this is this like a comment? Is this acting like a comment? Message, because we say the input is of type shape is that is where it is coming. This makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of saying that S can be of type circle or of type rectangle, we do this. And okay, that is nice. And there is no I would say restraint at the definition part of these structures, of these types, that is forcing this rectangle structure to have these two methods. This is only taken care of at the part when we are giving this structure at something as an input. It is miss. But earlier you used a very good analogy to this specific word here. It was yeah. Yeah, the fuck. This is very nice. This is very nice. And shit, we again have 13 reasons why. Okay. because shit, this is called euphemism. 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 An indirect word or expression that you use instead of a more direct one, which you are talking about something that is unpleasant or embarrassing. The use of such expressions is called euphemism. Like, 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 like if someone dies, then instead of saying that person died, you say they passed away. That is euphemism. Okay, tip. We also have tips here. Okay, interface. As an example, because the empty interface doesn't require a type to have any interfaces at all, every type automatically implements the empty interface. This is nice. Okay, this is nice. This is nice. Let's implement literally this thing, but in our own style, whatever that means. And instead of shape, let's say machine. A machine will have shit. I messed up the orientation. A machine is going to have a processor, and yes, this is Go. Why would you expect semicolon? Wait, why are they expecting semicolon? Shit, because methods. Okay, okay, my bad. Processor method doesn't take in anything, but it returns a string. That is good, but the spelling is wrong. Processor, machine has a processor and review, boolean. And then we will have type. Shit, I forgot the name. Wall. Wall Corporation. What is there? A new thing? Oh, shit, yes. Steam machine. Steam machine. Struct. But it's like fixed, right? We do not have a different processor or anything. There is only one type of the steam machine, right? Yo, which IDE you use at this time, and mostly which IDE you use? I just use one IDE. I don't know much, and that is Vim. That is Vim. Just one true love at the third site, Vim. And you should also use Vim. Everyone should use Vim if they can, and anyone can use Vim. So that means I use euphemism or whatever that was whenever I talk about my projects. Damn, yes, bro is doing some Shakespeare's stuff. Yeah, TTS, TTL, LTT, LTT. Shit, how can I mess this up so bad? LTT, Linus Tech Tips. Here, this won't have anything. Let's say this will only have a method, two methods, functions. S steam machine name processor doesn't take in anything but returns a string missing return and return I don't know, I guess uses an AMD processor. Steam machine Steam machine processor, AMD Zen 4 with 6 cores, 12 threads. I don't know what Zen means, but I understand cores. So 6 cores and 12 threads. And we will also implement func s Steam machine mm, McQueen and review returns bool, return true. And let's also have uh, side by side, instead of Steam machine we will have Steam machine. Instead of Steam machine we will have, let's say, call this second thing, I don't know, quantum compute. Should I messed up? Quantum computer, and in func main uh, st equals Steam machine empty. Declared but not used. Yeah, QC. Should QC, we will also have to change the return values of the functions on the quantum computer. Quantum computer. Instead of returning this, we will say annealing. Yes, annealing with icing model, and does not work. Does not work. Quantum computers don't work. And let's say print ln, we will call st dot processor and st dot review, or we will write another function which takes in as a or x of type machine interface print. Okay, we messed up somewhere in the syntax. This function. Okay. Okay, yes, we did mess up. I will call this printer sc, and we don't need a semicolon. Printer uc go build main.out. That's output. Yes, quantum annealing icing falls true. And I'll be right back in 1 minute. I have to go to the washroom. Just one, and I'll be right back. And I'm totally back. Just initialize it. as a Go module with Go mod init name and use Go run. Yes, I have initialized it as a module. I'm just retardedly using the build function or to compile every time. Yes, and do Go run. Hmm. Hmm. Uh, no files listed. Cat go dot mod. We have this Boot.Dev and we won't add the main file. May not go. Package boot dev. Hmm. 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 Sh- Go run. Either pass the file or use dot to specify. Shit. Go run this. Bootdev is not main package. Bootdev is not a main package. Main is the main package which will is runnable. Go run main. Command line argument is not a main package. Okay. You have to specify that this thing is a main package because this is not a library. This is a main package, which means this is a executable and run this thing. Okay, I suppose that is the hypothesis, and quantum annealing is something that is used by D-Wave, and yes, they are lying. Okay, assignment, and that does work. So cool. Interfaces. Main.go. Let's go, and this is the interface. This is the part where we are using the interface, and if we were to remove this error, they are saying QC it does not have this quantum computer part does not complete the whole interface for this. But if this has, let's say, more functions, instead of review. Oh, okay, that there is no error. It seems method is never used. Okay, scan GCD has to be complete. It seems only package main is used as executable. Everything else is a library. Yeah, something else is used as library. Makes sense. And why the fuck YouTube deleted my previous comment where I specified exactly that shit. Euphemism. And how much is there? Yeah, I guess yeah, that would be the end of the stream. I want to take a break. Yes. No. So what have we done? Structs, and we also completed functions. We were like around here or somewhere. Functions as well. No, defer. Yeah, defer is a function. Defer is something using which we specify call this function at the end when this scope ends. So that is cool. That is cool. And that is cool. And that would be it for today. I guess greedy. I would be getting greedy. Stig if defer comes in C, most of the memory leak would be okay. There is a counterpart in C++. We have destructors, right? So whenever an object goes out of scope or something equivalent like a structure, if it goes out of scope, then the destructor runs. So that is something, right? But still C++ causes memory leaks. Why would it be causing memory leaks? Because people are using raw pointers, which is not very good. Differ is different from destructor. It has the same spirit. It is not technically the same thing, but it has the same spirit. A function will run when the current scope ends, and our destructor, the function will run when your object goes out of scope. Yeah, the same spirit. They have the same spirit. Okay, we will end this at a word. Never just places the argument at the end of the function. No, you can even add a print with differ. Yes, we can add. It will be printed at last, and no matter where you are returning, here or here, the function will run. So this is very similar to to a destructor in C++. And let's end this stream on a wordle. Oh, what is this? Random guess? Not very cool. Not very cool. This is in where even is this? In Western Africa? Shit, to the west of Western Africa and to the east of that. Shit, this is probably an island somewhere. Shit, this is one of the islands. Haiti or something. Shit, I don't know. I don't know the Caribbean things. Yes. Dominican Republic. Dominica. Shit, this is one of the islands. I don't know the islands. I think it's anyways. Guana. Shit. Okay, Guana. Okay. This is Guana. Shit, my bad. My bad. This has border with Venezuela and Suriname and Brazil. And capital of Guyana. Capital of Guyana. We have Guyana. Capital of Guyana. I don't remember the capital of Guyana. Any help? GG. Any capital of Guyana? Yes, this is stream is about Go. Yes, completely. We are not getting off topic at all. This is Go. Guyana. Shame. Okay, I will just use random things. I know the capital of Suriname, which is Ribo. Paramaribo. This is wrong. Capital of Brazil would be Brasilia. Brasilia. And capital of Venezuela is, I think, Sucre. Green. Georgetown. Okay, I'll probably forget that. Yeah, coast. Okay. I don't know. Shit. This is Venezuela. This is Suriname. No idea. This is Brazil and how to guess? Guana. This is Guana. Okay. Venezuela, Suriname, and Brazil. And what? This does not seem like Guana. Any help? Lol, build a word. Wordle go. Shit, we can, I guess, do that. This is JavaScript. You have two guesses remaining. Shit, I only have two guesses remaining out of my two guesses. Anything. Shit, that was the thing. Okay. What is this called? This is called Holy Trinity. Juan Cathedral. Okay, this is not a cathedral. What? This is a bridge, and none of this is bridge except this one. And Demerara Bridge. Okay, what do they speak? What is the language at Guana? But before that, national emblem. This might be it. Shit. One people, one nation, our destiny. Unity, liberty, justice. This is Vatican City. We aspire, build, and advance as one people, every conscious of God, unity and faith and progress. Okay, that is Guana. That is Tigers. One people, one nation, one destiny. That is Guana. Okay, and language. Spanish, I suppose, but nope. French, Guami, the Guanese Creole, and some lang. There's like, yeah, sometimes they do. Yeah, yes. Why is this Greek? This is even more Greek. And population. This is South America. So, yes, this is South America. Peso. Shit. Yes, everything is going downhill. New Amsterdam. Why does Guana has a New Amsterdam? Georgetown, the capital. Then is LinkedIn. Okay, at least half right. Okay, we have to get this one right. Right. Guana is in South America. It is smaller than Suriname. And hint, Ireland is Ireland. Is Guana smaller than Ireland? I would say yes. Guana is smaller than Ireland. Yes, Guana would be smaller than Ireland. Not even close. Shit. Okay, shit. Shit. That is not my mistake. That is mistake of the map. Of the map. Yo, bye. That is map's mistake. Ah, Guana is hey, okay, shit. It is big. It is big. It is my mistake. Guana is big. Guana is, I guess, even bigger than Suriname. And Ireland is right here. Yeah, Ireland is much smaller, it seems, than Guana. Ireland. They seem comparable in size. Ireland and Guana. Yeah. Anyways, that would be the end. And yes, my bad. That would be the end of today's stream with full video. Yep. That would be the end of today's stream. And the camera is lagging somehow. Yes, that would be the end. And thank you for being here. Bye. I will be live again tomorrow, 11:30. That is self promotion. Yes, and the camera is lagging somehow. The camera is somehow just lagging. And bye. Yep. Thank you for being here.